and welcome to another evening of frank conversation here on Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. I'm Maokpe Ogun Yusuf. Last week, we spoke with the Corps Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps in the wake of the tanker explosion in Jigawa. The governor of the state, Umar Namadi, has now confirmed to Nigerians that 181 lives were lost in that singular incident and about 80 people remaining in critical condition. A real tragic situation. The question is whether we learn anything from incidences like this as a country, because if we don't, therein lies the real tragedy. We're turning pages to the events of this week, top of which is the president's rejigging of his cabinet. Late in September this year, the president's spokesperson, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, had confirmed that Mr. Tinubu had a desire to reshuffle his cabinet. This week, the exercise eventually took place with mixed reactions trailing the implementation. While we delve into that, it's not the only thing of interest we'll be looking at. In the Senate, a matter which should interest us all came to light. A sitting senator, Oyelola Ashiru, representing Kwara South, was the subject of a briefing by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA, who alleged that the senator had converted his private residence in GRA Ilorin, Kwara State to a joint for the distribution and consumption of hard drugs. This revelation came to light after the senator had accused the NDLEA of becoming, quote, compromised and so ineffective to the extent that even drug enforcement or drug education, NDLEA will never get us to where we're going to, end of quote. He was speaking in his contributions to a debate on the establishment of a National Institute for Drug Awareness and Rehabilitation. The NDLEA didn't take lightly these allegations and held a press conference this week detailing how they had raided the home of the senator in Ilorin and arrested 2 of his aides, successfully prosecuting one of them. That was in February this year. The senator has denied knowing any of the people arrested and has brought the matter before his colleagues, who have now resolved to set up an ad hoc committee on the matter to, quote, call the NDLEA to order. The question tonight is the Senate the appropriate body to look into such a matter involving one of its own? My guest tonight is Mr. Ezenwa, who is the chairman, Partners for Electoral Reforms. Mr. Nwagwu, you're welcome to Hard Copy.
Thank you. Well, it's good seeing you again.
It's always good to see you, as always. And I believe that it's quite a lot to digest this week.
Absolutely.
So let's start with the first one, which is the rejigging of the president's cabinet. 5 ministers out, 7 nominated ministers, and then 10 reshuffled. Was it just the appropriate amount of restructuring, or do you think it was underwhelming?
Well, for me, my quick sense is that it was an anticlimax.
An anticlimax?
Yes, because the expectation, there was so much expectation about this rejigging, in your words. A lot of people were already thinking, because it wasn't in September, we already knew that has been put out in the media that, oh, we're going to have these changes. But when they come, when it eventually came, I didn't see any. There was nothing that, for me, I don't know.
That was earth-shattering.
No, I just, okay, you deployed 10 of them, and then you added some new folks. But there are bigger issues for us, really, as a people.
Such as?
In terms of what really is the economic direction that this president is going on. So what is the roadmap in which we are going to be measuring? The IMF, the World Bank, is very clear in terms of how much they have pressed the neck of our government, not just Tinubu's government, in terms of the direction that they should go. Take out subsidies, commercialize everything, privatize everything. Are we going to see some kind of autochthonous thinking for this new vista that we have. If we continue in the same way, if we think that it is this is the only panacea for the economic crisis that we're having, then there is no precedent anywhere.
Well, you just talked about the economy. I think one of our analysts here did say that what this means is that the president is satisfied with the economic direction his team is taking. So maybe that's why there was no major change, or there were no major changes to.
No, the IMF told them that they should continue in this trajectory for 15 years.
Well, there are those who also believe that. I mean, there are Nigerians who have said that this is the path for us to take. There are those who have said we've done it too late. That's why we're feeling the effect. Our economy is feeling the shocks in the manner that we're currently feeling it. There are those who believe that, oh, look, we all know that we need to tighten our belts, but the complaint is that you are not tightening your own, that those in government are not tightening theirs as much as they're asking the people to. And so we're now beginning to see the president say, oh, ministers, you have to cut your convoy to 3. Your convoy cannot be longer than 3, and we're expecting that there will be a few more announcements to be made in that direction, at least so Mr. Onanuga tells us. So what are your thoughts in that direction?
When was the last time that we built houses for the poor? In the last 40 years. When was the last time that any Nigerian can approach a public hospital? Where is the public universities?
And there, I mean, all the public
No, but we have
withdrawn.
We've virtually said we've left them. So life has become much more miserable for the majority of the citizens of your country because of the policy that advances privatization, commercialization of almost the things that even the people who are asking you to do that don't do that in their own country.
But how have we managed, in all the years that government has been running this thing, how have we managed our public universities? We're beginning to see a lot more Nigerians, whether or not they can afford it, trying their best to send their children to private universities as a result of the ineffectiveness of, or what they perceive as the ineffectiveness of government universities.
So I don't know how much you have followed the conversation about funding. Government has abdicated the responsibility of funding to interventions, whether it's in the primary, secondary, or university. If in the last nearly 10 years, there is no public institution that you go to in Nigeria, public university that you go to, if you find any new building there, it's state fund. If it's not state fund, it's some intervention of, some benevolent private individual. So in terms of budget line, what are you putting there? You can't get what you did not give. So since 2009, thereabout, the same issues for which ASU has gone on strike have remained untreated. What are those issues? Funding.
Funding is a significant.
In that 2009, it was just inject 6 billion into the university system. They couldn't do that. Today, they enter agreements that they are not going to follow. Most of the professors who eventually go to these other places are people who have finished in public universities, right? They are crying out. They are saying, inject funds. We want to work. We want to be able to serve not these ones. Because when you say people now, whether they can afford it or not, how do they afford it? Those people who can afford it, how are they affording it? It is also shortchanging the system somewhere to be able to meet. But we want to be able to ensure that majority of our citizens have access to tertiary education. And the only way that can happen is for you to fund public education. That's number one. Number two is that you're from Lagos State. You do know that the Jakonde estates, the Jakonde schools, sucked in, majority of people who will ordinarily not have afforded to have education. That's like 40 years ago. There's nothing like that anymore. Today in this city and in most other cities in Nigeria, private estates are mushrooming everywhere, that are not affordable. The federal mortgage banks can't even give you, the loan to afford those houses. They're poor. The middle class completely wiped out. It's either you are rich or you are poor. Okay, so government is exiting from it's become what my teacher there used to say. He says government is an absconditus, that government has absconded, completely from the life of its own citizens and have left us to our own devices. And the reason for that is because of the kind of, economic policy that we have put in place.
For you right now, because listening to Mr. Ononuga has come out to talk about the president's stance on your cabinet, there have been different reactions. There are those who say there are ministers that still do not belong in our cabinet. By belonging, I mean there have been complaints against them and nothing has happened. Take, for instance, the Minister of State for Defense. There's been a hue and cry about his continued presence in the cabinet, given the allegations that the current governor of the state has, put forward. The president's spokesperson says, look, the president's rejigging happened with the feedback of Nigerians and also the empirical evidence provided by Ms. Hadiza Bala Usman. I think she's supposed to be coordinating something.
She's doing this.
So they looked at that, and that was how they came up with this rejigging that they have done. So they said the feedback from Nigerians influenced the decisions. You don't think that your own
feedback from Nigerians should be that he should sack all of them? Because tell me which sector. Because at the end of the day, which sector has delivered optimally for the majority of Nigerians?
Isn't it too early to tell?
No, but if 1 year is good enough. So this too early. By the time you get into next year, Mark, where you are going to have preparation for 2027. That's the reality. You see, until we hold their feet on fire from the beginning, this idea of isn't it too early? Which one defense can we breathe? Yes, things may be, in terms of the statistics that is out there, things may be looking up, but that's not where Nigerians want to be. That's not what we voted for, right? So whether you talk about power, in many states, in Kaduna has not had power for 8 years, for 8 days now. Borno, Maiduguri particularly, in the last 3 months, there is no power. The national grid keeps collapsing. And then we were told by the then Obasanjo government that that the power situation has been resolved. It's just about distribution and transmission. But if you are going to be dealing with that challenge, you are going to be dealing with the whole gamut of it. So if you have dealt with one and the other part of is still challenging, you have not solved the problem. So majority of your citizens are still in darkness. Security is still a challenge.
Now, while
prices are skyrocketing.
While
unchallenged
is happening in the executive, you would think that what we'll be saying is, you've said how Nigerians should hold their feet to the fire. That's what we as citizens should do. But then we also have a legislative arm of government whose job it is to oversight these ministries that are headed by these ministers to do their jobs as well. But we haven't quite seen that sort of debate and that sort of conversation in the Senate, have we?
No, the legislature has a reputational baggage that it's been wrestling with in terms of how it approaches its responsibility for oversight, for representation, and for lawmaking. So just take a bit of history. You will see that it's been more about engaging the executive for personal gain, broadly speaking. And there are evidence for that. You know the story of the many times that MDAs, direct DGs, ministers have asked that the National Assembly should allow them to do their work openly. What does that mean? What it means is that the relationship has not been one in which it is to play that oversight role. They are going for oversight. It is the ministries that provide the vehicles, the tickets, the hotels where they will stay to go and oversight a ministry. There are jobs. They say it's their responsibility to find jobs for their, constituents and all of that. So in doing that, they subvert equal opportunity. and then install cronyism and patronage. So that challenge is a huge burden, reputational burden that the legislature has carried on. And it is not working in any very serious manner to discharge that.
So what do we then make of this, press briefing and counter allegation on the floor of the National Assembly? I don't know whether you paid attention to it. First, it was the NDLEA, which called a press conference. They actually called one. They didn't issue a statement. Normally, the NDLEA issues a statement. I mean, journalists have come to look forward to that statement every Sunday, detailing their activities for the week, who they caught and who they didn't catch. But this wasn't a press statement. The spokesperson held a press conference, willing to take questions from journalists, detailing their encounter with Senator
Ashiru.
Senator Ashiru. And I'm just wondering what you made of it, because Senator Ashiru, of course, wasn't taking it line low. He's, taking it up as a privileges matter on the floor of the Senate, saying that this is going to stop him from doing his work. And the Senate president has said, look, we need to call the NDLEA to order. And they're setting up an ad hoc committee to investigate the matter. What are your thoughts on it?
I do know that no senator has immunity. And if the NDLEA has brought a charge against the senator, the thing to do is not to rally your colleagues.
Yeah, but did they bring a charge against him?
No, they have brought, they have prosecuted people who are close to him. That's what the press conference
Yeah,
is.
but that's not the same thing as a charge.
No, they charge, these are people who have. So he's coming on, the NDLEA is saying that this is a response to the work that they have done that has vicarious, that he has a vicarious liability for, because it's his house, according to the NDLEA, that has been used as a joint for, peddling of
hard drugs,
illicit drugs. So the thing to do is that if you are smeared by that, if you think that, that you have been wrongly accused of that, the thing to do is not to rally your colleagues. The thing to do is to approach the court. It's to approach the judiciary. Because that is not happening to you as Senator Ashiru. It is happening to you as someone whose house has been used for, according to the NDLEA, for the illicit activities. And so what then happens is that he wants to use that institution to intimidate the NDLEA, and that should not be allowed to happen.
Yeah, but he's not doing it by himself. He seems to have the support of his colleagues.
No, but of course, it's a camaraderie. It's a natural camaraderie that we protect each other. Let's have the back of each other. But that is not going to be helpful in unveiling and uncovering the truth in terms of his own liability in the accusation or allegation that the NDLEA has brought against him. The thing to do is that people who have office, who have leadership positions, should understand that they carry a burden, much more burden than any of us, to be able to be clear when this kind of accusations comes. How then can you sit down to make laws for our country if truly your home is available for that kind of heinous crime that the NDLEA is talking about? The thing to do is not to take it lightly, but what to do is not to rally your colleagues. What to do is to approach the judiciary, to intervene, so that at the end of the day, both the media, civil society, and everyone who is concerned about those kind of issues can find out who eventually then is in the right. But then the NDLEA also has a responsibility to bring up those issues, because why did they also wait until he has intervened in a bill in the National Assembly that they now say, oh, he's saying what he's saying? He has immunity, he has legislative immunity to canvass an opinion in the House, but it is, if there is a criminal charges against him or people who are related to him, that should not be brought together at the same time.
Yeah, so the NDLEA are very careful in their choice of words. I mean, they say, oh, the Senate is very I'm trying to remember the words that they use now, but the Senate is very well in their rights to set up this new institution, and it's something that they will support. The name of the institution is National Institute for Drug Awareness and Rehabilitation, but they didn't take the senator's contribution, who said that the NDLEA has become so compromised. I think that was what he said. Yeah, that they had become so compromised and so ineffective. Those were the words of the Senate.
So to prove that they are effective, they had to establish, because that is said in the public.
Yes.
What he said was said in the public.
Was said in the public,
and that will diminish, you know, the relevance, the effectiveness of the LEA in the eye of the public. They had to hold that public intervention to be able to clear their name. But like the burden is more on Senator Ashiru, if truly, you know, he's riding through that process to exercise a vendetta, that it should not be supported. But like I said, he has legislative immunity for the comments he makes on the floor of...
So they cannot sue based on that?
They may not be able to sue him, but if it brings opprobrium on the institution itself, it has the responsibility to clear itself.
Oh, I don't know. This is like the latest we're saying in terms of, you know, personal matters that now become institutional matters. Because now this is now taking the light of Senate versus NDLEA, you know, over the matter of a Senate of one individual. We also saw that with the issue of the Kogi state government, you know, which the EFCC has been trying to arrest the former governor, and then we now saw the Kogi state government questioning the illegality or otherwise of the existence of the EFCC. A number of governors have joined in that suit. Some of them have withdrawn. A few more have joined. I don't know what your thoughts are on this matter.
I do think that there is some intentionality around whittling the influence of the institutions that we're talking about, the EFCC particularly, will naturally come under the kind of attack that we have seen. In my view, it's become a bit more effective in terms of not making a lot of noise, but going directly for the jugular of some of the people who are committing economic crimes against the country. But the challenge is that it is now looking like EFCC, even the NDLEA, is isolated. Isolated because the crimes that were committed were crimes against the state. They are not crimes against the EFCC. And so the police, for instance, has a responsibility to enforce all laws. So if the EFCC is in pursuit of a culprit, and the police is folding his hand akimbo and watching, and the other, so you see some kind of territorialism. I think that there should be much more coordination now in terms of dealing with the challenges that we face. Because if you are smiling when the guinea fowl is being dissected, if the guinea fowl is being dissected and the hen is having a party, everything that looks like the hen or the fowl will go through dissection. So at the end of the day, it may be EFCC today, but it can come to become the DSS tomorrow. It can become the police tomorrow. So there needs to be much more coordination and support to ensure that people who have committed crimes against the state are not allowed to go scot-free.
Yeah, but those who have, you know, questioned how the EFCC itself has handled that particular matter, do you think that they failed when they said, oh, look, he presented himself, that's the former governor, presented himself in the office of the EFCC, and they didn't arrest him?
These things are laughable. The truth of the matter is that if today the law enforcement agents wants to bring Yaya Bello to book, they will do it this morning. It won't succeed today.
So you think that there is
it's just, you see,
a lack of sincerity?
Yeah, the challenge with us is that we dramatize a lot. And we are not able to separate the politics of it. There's a politics of it. The politics of it is what we are handling. Who is talking to who? Who is he running to? What is his political, calculations. You understand, what is his value politically? If we deal with him, will it impact on our electoral fortune? All of those considerations are the things that are driving all of this. If there is a consensus today and the political will is there, you will see him behind the bars the next day. So all this drama is just like an armed robber. It's just like Adeni. Adeni did all the drama that when the state wanted to clamp on him, the Adeni and the Osumbo, they became history. It's a natural thing that when the law enforcement agents want to do their job, they do it without, looking at whose ox is God. But today is that there are political interferences, there are undertones, that are holding, folks like the Yaya Bello from answering to, the allegations that has been made against him. And even the EFCC itself, if they want to arrest him, they will do so.
Mr. Nwagwu, thank you so much for coming on Hard Copy.
Thank you for having me, and it's been an interesting conversation. Indeed it has.
Well, that's the program tonight, but did you enjoy it? If you did, let us know. Use the handles showing on your screen. Thank you for watching. I'm Nwagwu. Good night.